In Andy Weir's The Martian, which honestly, have any of you guys actually not read this book yet? In the book, Mark Watney is stranded on Mars and he uses Pathfinder's communication system to contact the Earth to let them know that he is actually alive. But what exactly was Pathfinder? That's today's Martian tie-in on Vintage Space. Pathfinder was NASA's second Discovery-class mission that landed on Mars in 1997. It was, in essence, a mission designed to prove that NASA did have the technological know-how and capabilities to land a larger payload on Mars, but it was also a proof of concept to demonstrate that the agency had the technology to actually undertake more interesting and more scientifically inclined missions to really start understanding the Red Planet. Keep in mind that by this point, the Viking landers had both landed on Mars in the 1970s, but they really just took a few samples, did a few experiments, and mostly took some incredible pictures. Now, in the 1990s, NASA wanted to start doing real science on Mars. So with this basic first step mission towards Martian exploration, the scientific objectives were pretty simple. The general science goals included demonstrating a new atmospheric entry sequence and taking long-range and close-up images of the Martian surface. The general objective was to characterize the Martian environment for further exploration. That new landing sequence is pretty familiar by today's standards because NASA has used some variation or some element from it in every mission since. It began with an aeroshell for the first bit of aerobraking through the Martian atmosphere. Then a parachute deployed to slow it even further. Finally, retro-rockets were used to slow the lander even more. The Pathfinder payload, being slowed by many means during its descent, was actually shaped like a pyramid, and on all four sides of that pyramid were airbags. The airbags inflated, cushioning the landing, which was a really good thing because Pathfinder was not delivered discreetly and gently to the surface. It was released at altitude and left to bounce and roll along the Martian surface until it naturally came to a stop. Those airbags saved the delicate science instruments from the multiple harsh landings. Once on the surface, the airbags deflated and the petals of the lander opened, and they opened in such a way that if it were oriented on the wrong side, lying on one of the side petals, it would right itself so that the payload instruments were actually upright on the base. Between landing on July 4th of 1997 and the final data transmission on September 27th of that year, Pathfinder returned 2.3 billion bits of information, including more than 16,500 images. It also returned more than 15 chemical analyses of rocks and soil, as well as extensive data on winds and Martian weather. The mission ultimately provided ample evidence that Mars was once wet and warm in its past, with a much thicker atmosphere than we see on the planet today. So what are your guys' favorite moments from Pathfinder, and what did you guys think of Mark Watney's use of Pathfinder, or reuse of Pathfinder as the case may be, in Andy Weir's The Martian? As always, leave your questions and comments below. Follow me on Twitter as AST Vintage Space for daily Vintage Space updates, and subscribe right here so you never miss an episode.